You're here because life hasn't turned out the way that you want. Your real self and your ideal self are not the same person. Your relationship has lost its passion or feels dull or conflict-ridden, or life in general just seems underwhelming. Those are all solvable problems and ones that have quick resolutions. I'm talking like 90-day turnaround. Big picture, society does a terrible job teaching us how to love, lust, and learn things in ways that are fulfilling and sustainable. If there's a part of our life that is feeling imbalanced, lacking energy or fulfillment, then you're in the right place. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss this breakdown. This program was made for you because it was made to be prioritized and fulfill our basic human needs, relationally, sexually, emotionally, socially. Sure, you can close out at any time, and then you'll miss how I teach you how to stress less from reducing conflict and miscommunication, how to have higher productivity and success in everything that you do, and how to secure long-lasting and satisfying romantic relationships while discovering the 8 forms of intimacy and what they are, how to tap into them. Your time is valuable, so I promise that watching until the end of this video will be well worth it. We're promising you great sex, close intimacy with your partners, a renewed personal drive and passion in life, and self-love. In all of my years as a therapist and coach, I don't think I've ever met anybody who hasn't had at least a couple of those be their top tier goals in life. A favorite quote of mine from Einstein is, "We can't solve our problems by using the same kind of thinking that we used when we created them." Our world is so imperfect. We are imperfect. It does not teach us how to be emotionally intelligent, how to have successful relationships, and how to embrace being sexual creatures. So let me teach you a different way to think so that we can have a different way of doing and feeling. The world that we live in doesn't have to be this dark and lonely and dull reality. We can have this beautiful existence, and I have an internal drive and I aim to reconnect partners to heal our mental health crisis and enhance sexual fulfillment, because together they create a much more beautiful world that I think we can all use a little more of. You're about to discover how to finally get the love, lust, and life that you've always envisioned but didn't think that you could have, which means you no longer have to manage the stress from constant conflict or the mood plummeting from persistent loneliness, or the aching that we've all felt when you feel like your body hasn't been touched in the way that it needs for a while. This program asks you the right questions and gives you not just the right answers, but also templates and a coach, me, for how to solve those problems in the here and now. It is full service. Our program is super special, and here's why. We give you the therapeutic tools for real life application to grow as a person and as a relationship. So that includes 3 mailed at-home kits that are fully boxed with all materials for date nights and therapeutic activities, handouts that are all made to be deeply personalized, so there's no cookie cutter system that doesn't really apply to your unique situation. Live one-to-one and group calls to practice techniques in real time so you can form healthy habits. You become your own expert, essentially. You create the change for yourself with our guidance and our structure. This way, you feel confident in your ability to manage what life throws at you. We're not magic. We teach you the tools and the information and help you practice so that by the end of the program, by the end of the 90 days, you are healthier and more satisfied in your overall life. And don't worry, there is no shame or shyness here. Sexuality, sensuality, intimacy in all of its 8 forms are completely embedded in this program. There's really no way to reconnect without attending to physical barriers. A coach or a program that ignores any of these critical parts of a romantic relationship, in my opinion, is neglectful. Unlike those other programs, you will not find here self-proclaimed gurus with no formal training, day-long boring lectures, talk without inaction, or years spent in traditional therapy. Let's just dive right in because your time is valuable and every minute counts. It's simple. You need a step-by-step system to amplify the 8 forms of intimacy, unlock euphoric sex so that you can feel the energetic drive again, experiencing deeply fulfilling romantic attachments, and generally benefiting from the amazing things that relationships and sex have to offer you. Before I get into the nitty-gritty, the granular details of the steps, I do want to quickly share how I developed this system so that it makes sense to you. Every process that we develop is made to be personalized and adapted to your specific system, to every individual that joins this program. So that means we do not make, like I said earlier, cookie cutter programs that only work for traditionally married 2-person same-sex couples. Although if that is your situation, this program helps and suits you as well. You're welcome. Whatever structure, style, dynamic you are in, our program was made for you. I will let you in this video, I will let you in on the number 1 mistake that most partners make, as well as the top 3 things to focus on so that you can experience fulfillment in synergistic flow with your partners in just 90 days. Now, I recognize I'm still a total stranger to you, so give me 60 seconds to share how I got here, and then we'll dive right in. I've always known that I've wanted to be a therapist. I have this 6th grade yearbook that says in my bio that I wanted to be a psychiatrist. And as I reflect back, I don't really know exactly where that came from because at that point I had never seen a therapist and nobody in my family was in that profession. Genuinely, I think I just felt this drive to connect with people and to feel valuable in making this world a better place. It can be really dark and heavy and lonely at times. I think we can all resonate with that. I think we can all connect with that. I've graduated a bit early from all of my degree programs, so I've been working in this field. Although I'm younger, I've been in this field for well over a decade now. What started out as a sole focus on relationships started to evolve into sex therapy because I genuinely feel like relationship healing cannot be effectively done without attending to the sexual intimacy side as well. Because of my openness towards sex and my natural and organic feeling of acceptance, not just tolerance and curiosity, but acceptance of non-traditional structures, the BDSM and kink communities began to gravitate to me and my clinical practice. And as the referrals grew, that led me to seeking a PhD in clinical sexology. And here we are. That was the evolution of my practice. I love relationships. I love people. I feel this innate drive to help heal and prevent the mass amount of trauma and pain that's deeply embedded in our relationship and sexual culture. So even though this work can be really draining at times for me because I'm a super introvert, there is honestly nothing else that I would rather do in this world. And I think that level of passion and commitment and drive comes through in the relationship that I create with every single client that I have and the outcomes of success with every single client that I have. Okay, so how did this program evolve from my practice? If we all have energy within us and we find a way to control and mold that energy into whatever we need it to be for us, our life can have very little limitations in comparison to the powerlessness, sadness, and tiredness that many of us feel on a daily basis. Take, for instance, if I were to oversimplify like how I conceptualize a client's presenting issue, right? There's so many different styles of therapy and coaching, but honestly, they can all boil down into one single theme, which is over and under functioning of energy exchange, right? When energy reciprocity between 2 living things, and that doesn't necessarily have to mean 2 human beings, right? It can mean like the earth. It can mean, you may be able to see my dog in the background, right? So it's just energy exchange between living things. If that gets out of whack, the health of the system starts to deteriorate and creates symptoms, which is meant and purposed to communicate to us that something is wrong and needs to be fixed. Just because we can doesn't mean we should overcomplicate things. Energy is energy. We are the ones who decide if it is good, bad, or neutral. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a couple of minutes and how we can gain control and choice in the expression of energy. Using a different example of energy theory. Personally, I have a number of medical conditions such as EDS, arthritis, migraines that cause chronic pain in my body. When I first started having intense daily pain around 18, it dropped my mood. It made me feel less social. I took naps in the middle of the day, which if you know me is very abnormal because I'm a very productive, efficient kind of person. And I had to stop my dance team, which atrophied my muscles and made the pain worse. So it took a couple of years for me to recognize that it was all energy within my body, right? Yes, the pain level is still here and probably always will be. I've since implemented mindset tools. I've adapted my exercise techniques to support my body rather than to stress it. I've respected my social limitations without isolation. So you find that moderation line rather than living on the extremes of the spectrum. And rather than fighting against that internal energy and rejecting it, I own it. It's mine. I choose the way in which that energy is used, and I choose to use it as motivation and momentum toward productivity. I found a way to reform that initial pain response to now be an energetic form of focus and attention, and I will teach you how to do that. Here's my last example of energy theory, and then we'll move forward into the solutions. So let me tell you a short story about two couples that I saw in my home office. The first couple walks in, they sit on opposite sides of the couch, super cold body language, complete silence. The whole session is me doing most of the work, most of the talking, trying to just pull out content, hoping that they engage. The second couple is already loudly bickering when I open the door and welcome them in. They walk in, session starts, their conversation escalates very quickly. Pillows are being thrown in frustration, a partner's screaming. I ask them to separate and tell one to walk outside to cool off while they're deep breathing and another to make a cup of tea. Which one would you choose to have? The first one or the second one? Me, I would much prefer the couple that is arguing, the second couple. Why? Because at least there is energy left to reform into something new, something different, right? At least they care enough to still engage with one another. Apathy is the true antagonist of love. When there's no energy left, there is no care or desire, no motivation to invest for change. And that is usually the point of no return. All right, so here's the solution. The fastest way to get sustainable growth in intimacy, sex, and resentment repair is by treating the whole system. Okay, not just the individual, not just the dyadic relationship or the multi-person relationship, but the entire unit, the entire system. We start with the foundation, stabilizing the health of each individual. We build up from there to the relationship, focusing on the interactions, and then we go to the whole system. Through all three of those levels, we apply evidence-based approaches from both traditional and holistic models for comprehensive solutions. We also introduce learning tools in many, many, many different ways throughout the program so that we're hitting on all different learning styles, and there are 7 of them, so it doesn't really matter if you are visual, auditory, kinesthetic, social, reading, writing kind of learner. We have you covered. You will retain the information, you will get it. It doesn't, it's not that we're providing the information in a way in which it's going to be really, really difficult for you to conceptualize and process. We got it. We have you covered. Now, as a subject matter expert in the fields of clinical sexology and relationships, I've been featured in Giddy Magazine, CNN Headline News, Bravo, Oprah Winfrey Network, Spotify, think places like that. I'm also a recipient of the Top Doctor Award in 3 U.S. states. Even without the backing of those professional mediums, I believe and trust in my process. Why? Because as a therapist and coach, I have never, ever asked a client to complete something that I haven't personally done myself or with my own partner. Personally, I think that would be unethical for me to request somebody else to partake in an activity or an exercise that I haven't personally invested in. And that's how I know and I can guarantee that these techniques, these approaches, that this program is amazing. Are you ready to find out the exact step-by-step process? Awesome. If you don't already have one, grab a pen and paper or just open the notes section in your phone. After 13 years working in the clinical therapy field, helping over 2,700 clients at this point and getting amazing results for myself and my marriage, I've consolidated the most effective and efficient techniques, all backed by evidence, peer-reviewed, evidence-based models, into these 4 steps. So let me break them down for you, and we'll get into it. Let's start with step 1, which is find yourself. I chose to start the foundation of this program with focus on the individual because a primary problem in most relationships is lack of self-awareness. Take, for example, needs. The same needs are inherent within every single human being across the entire earth. Human conflict does not arise from the needs themselves, but from the prioritization of those needs, which may be different from somebody else's needs. And human conflict also comes from the strategies that we have implemented to get our needs met, which may be in conflict with somebody else. This step 1, focuses a lot on psychological, intellectual, and emotional forms of intimacy. Most programs skip this step entirely. Coaches often specialize in either individual or relationship, but often don't treat both parts of the same system, which is necessary for long-term growth. Foundations of love, respect, loyalty, commitment, trust, they all start with the self. If you don't have those built within yourself, you don't have the foundation to receive from your partner, and that's hugely problematic. Clients will sometimes come to me saying, I'm so angry and exhausted by therapy at this point. You're the last hope. You're the 7th or 8th therapist and coach that we've seen. It's been years of the same old stuff. And I get it. I completely get it. If you're going to invest your time, attention, and money, all of which are very finite resources for all of us, into this process, it better be a process that gives you all of that back in return. So I hope by the end of this video, you feel and you're able to confirm that this is a process that absolutely will give you all of those resources back and more. Here's what you can do instead of traditional therapy, boring seminars, self-help books. Have a clinically licensed specialist in sex and relationships to be able to personally attend to your needs so that you receive holistic healing. Find a system that guides you to grow personally, relationally, and systemically, because that's attending to all 3 is what encourages long-lasting effects. And start with a personality quiz as the first step, because that's what will help identify what the core problem areas are rather than just assuming what the primary issue is.
Here are just a few testimonials for you to review before we transition to step 2.
Okay. Moving on to step 2, learn patterns. Step 1 handled awareness. Step 2 is about making actionable change. Each partner needs to bring their own growth and change to the relationship. There is a universal concept called give to get. It builds trust, it diffuses power struggles, and encourages momentum rather than stagnancy. Without guidance, individuals end up changing anything rather than the core issue, which often results in equally unhealthy and dissatisfying outcomes. This step 2, focuses a lot on psychological, creative, intellectual, social, and emotional forms of intimacy. Most coaches don't take the time or aren't well trained enough to sift through the content that you provide them and be able to evaluate what the primary issue is versus the secondary symptoms or the superficial content. Why is that important? It's important because without first identifying what the core issue is, you can spend years treating every single secondary symptom, which is wasteful of time, resources, and energy. This is why we don't rush the process. By rushing in and beginning and missing critical information, you make the therapeutic journey 5 to 10 times longer of a process than it actually needs to be. That's super unnecessary. Clients usually don't realize that they are off track or unfocused in the coaching or therapy experience until they're many months in and not seeing progress. So here's what you can do instead of randomly changing something and hoping that it has a good outcome, because that's usually ineffective. You can invest in a hybrid relationship coaching program that builds behavioral change while creating emotional change. Why? Because you heal from the inside out. You can learn how to release negative perspective, and you can apply techniques to compartmentalize past wounds, which will allow your brain to forgive and move forward.
Here are some additional testimonials for you to review before we jump into step 3.
Step 3, observe and apply. The focus of step 3 is on disrupting unhealthy interaction patterns in the relationship. In true behavior modification, every single behavior that we have serves a function or a purpose. If it didn't, it would just naturally be eliminated. We need to first identify what is the underlying function and need of this unhealthy behavior, and then we can choose an alternative behavior that meets the same need, but with less damage to the relationship. We build positive energy in this step. This step also focuses on physical, creative, social, emotional, and experiential forms of intimacy. Often people focus on the negative in the therapeutic space, which can burn clients out really quick and lead to dropout rates, which serves no one. Just like romantic partnerships, programs have to integrate positivity to get you through the rough patches, to get you through the difficult moments that are really emotionally heavy. Negative perspective of self, partner, or relationship, or life in general, is heavily linked to mood disorders, chronic pain, bodily inflammation diseases, early onset Alzheimer's, shorter lifespan, likely due to higher prolonged stress levels in the body, right? There is a myriad, it's kind of like a domino effect. There's a myriad of things that negative perspective in any kind of prolonged sense is associated with. So we need to pull that out as quickly and efficiently as possible. Negativity ravages your mind and body, not in a good way, not just your relationship. Here's what you can do instead of flooding the therapeutic process with negativity. You can pick a program that helps you release the emotional weight of past pain. You can create balance by discussing what needs to change and practicing gratitude, because building positive energy improves mood and strengthens attachment. And you can reform patterns of communication. 80% of our communication is nonverbal, so that has to include nonverbal communication expressions as well, which a lot of programs completely skate over. And that the reformation of patterns of communication will increase your emotional intelligence within the relationship, which is statistically linked to longevity and success of relationships.
I am your host, Kelly Roberts, and I am so excited to be here. I'm a Pilates instructor, the creator of Kelly Roberts Wellness, and also the owner of Beach Pilates and Wellness Studio. Let's dive in. Stephanie is a licensed clinical marriage and family therapist, and she is also a board-certified clinical sexologist. And I think she has a lot of mindset to be able to share with us to look outside the box. Stephanie's so amazing. She was with me when we did my second Pilates retreat in Spain, and she was so much fun. I think we laughed so hard all the time, and she ended up rooming with me when we spent 2 days in Madrid, and we just had the best time. So she has this boisterous personality. She's super sweet, and I think her passion to help people and to really bring couples who've kind of lost their way in their journey or their marriage and she helps them re-identify their communication and their boundaries and general needs and wants of each other. So I think that she just has all these amazing opportunities to share with us. I'm super excited for everyone to meet my friend Stephanie, technically Dr. Stephanie Bathurst. So here she is. I hope you all love her as much as I do.
Okay, finally, step 4, which is work together. This is the big picture step that brings everything together. In step 4, we plan the future. We practice synergistic flow and we develop a formal relationship contract. Every relationship, romantic, familial, or platonic, has a contract. whether it is verbal or nonverbal, conscious or subconscious, flexible or rigid. If we don't formalize a process in a way that involves all partners, it guarantees multiple contracts are working at the same time, which is what breeds conflict and miscommunication. This step focuses on physical, creative, sexual, social, emotional, and experiential forms of intimacy. Most partners want to communicate effectively. However, you don't know what you don't know, right? So how will you negotiate a contract with your partner if you're totally unaware of what questions need to be asked to prevent future mishaps? Most programs will only mediate contracts in the present and do very little to no work preparing the client for how to manage their own contract negotiations in the future. Why? For the client to be self-sufficient means that they lose a source of income. I wish that it was less political than that, but it's not, right? So we here in our program, the Flow Formula, we don't just plan for your future contracting. We plan for your future traditions. We schedule your future date nights. We block out self-guided check-ins and give you the scripting and the structure to ensure sustainability of your growth. We want you to be self-sufficient. We want to celebrate your autonomy and hope that you don't have to come back to this process, because that means that we did our job right and that you are now your own expert. So here's what you can do instead of trying to fix things completely on your own. Before an issue turns into a crisis, so proactive, right? Use conflict resolution techniques so you can decrease conflict and communication. Treat the whole system as a working unit, a single working unit, and develop new behaviors based on the interactions of the individuals. Create a relationship contract, as well as a negotiation process that can be applied in the future. There has to be flexibility built in so that the contracting space isn't so rigid and inflexible that it shatters and breaks with any kind of change that life demands. Now that you know the 4 steps to enhance all 8 forms of intimacy, psychological, physical, creative, intellectual, sexual, social, emotional, and experiential. Let's recap really briefly all of the steps. In step 1, you will discover your energy flow type. You'll build a foundation, reduce inner conflict, identify energy blocking behaviors. Step 2, you will use mindfulness and visualization for a new perspective. You will complete a visual relationship timeline to resolve past pain, change your energy from negative to positive, and eliminate intimacy blocking behaviors. Step 3, you will build positive energy experiences, enhance communication, increase intimacy flow behaviors, practice daily gratitude, release resentment through a ritual that we provide you. In step 4, you will customize a relationship contract, boost positivity and practice gratitude, plan future check-ins and quality time blocks. In our Flow Formula hybrid relationship coaching program, I will guide you towards completing all 4 steps in rapid time so that you can start loving life the way that you want and deserve. If I offered you 80% improvement in all areas of your relationship in 90 days without regression to old habits, boring talk therapy, or complete self-sacrifice to accommodate the relationship, would you take me up on it? Okay, so I've broken down every tool, resource, bonuses that I've offered through this program, and the numbers don't lie. At a whopping value of $31,700, you honestly cannot beat our asking price of $2,500 for a 3-month full access, full service program. The return of investment is profound. What kind of price do you put really on the high that you get after great sex with your partner, on feeling alive and fulfilled and with a sense of purpose in life rather than just existing in this dullness, in this gray state? Don't sell yourself short. You are absolutely worth it. Your relationship is absolutely worth it. With just a one-time purchase, the emotional and relational dividends will continue to come back to you year after year for the rest of your life. If it works better for you, we are happy to offer 3 installments of $917, so $917, 3 installments rather than one block payment or one full payment of $2,500. We're here to work with you because that's how much we know this program will benefit you. If you've tried other programs, then you know how hard it is to see a quick return of change and change that sustains. That's because most of the courses rarely give you step-by-step direction and only focus on 1 to 2 forms of intimacy. Like you know at this point, we've covered all 8 a number of times throughout the steps. A lot of those programs also lack accountability and are very secretive about the techniques that they use and how effective they actually are. We're different in a number of ways, so let me just break some of those ways down. I am a certified kink-conscious therapist who specializes in working with non-traditional relationships, such as kink, BDSM, multi-amory, consensual non-monogamy, gender, sex, and relationship fluid dynamics. We are also a hybrid relationship coaching program. I am a fully licensed clinical therapist, and I'm still practicing as a clinical therapist. So I don't knock all therapy. I am, however, partial toward this hybrid coaching model because it integrates everything that I think works best for my clients. You get the best of all worlds. Online courses, live seminars, group calls, and one-to-one intensives, self-led, coach-led, and community-led approaches or activities, and as well as traditional and holistic techniques. Plus, all of the different approaches and styles make sure that you are processing the information in so many different ways that it maximizes memory retention. It's not just going one ear and out the other. You're going to keep it for a lifetime. We make sure of it. We're also a model that uses energy work to repair wounds and create even energy flow for deep fulfillment between partners. And most programs do not include energy theory as the basis and foundation of their process. This program also implements only implements evidence-based models, and we are 100% transparent about the techniques used and the studies that support them. Also, you custom create a relationship contract to minimize miscommunication, maximize connection, and build a better future together. You're our perfect client if you want better intimacy, communication, and connection. If you have passion, are driven and resilient, and are an individual, couple, or multi-person relationship who are looking to level up your intimacy, communication, and sexual connection, this program was absolutely built for you, and you're in the right place. If you feel like roommates, if you feel stuck overcoming betrayal, mistrust, or boredom, if you feel unheard, unseen, or lonely, if you're wanting to rekindle that spark, if you believe there has to be more to life than what you're living, if you want to stop anger, miscommunication, and coldness, if you have commitment but very low trust, if you need accountability to actually make change happen, if you have tried other methods but they've been largely ineffective, if you want to explore alternative forms of intimacy than what you know right now, or if you want to become your own healer and use this as an education platform. This program is also not for everyone. It's not a good clinical fit for the people who expect their partner to change without putting the work in themselves, or for people who do research but never take action, for anyone who is in active infidelity, abuse, or addiction and aren't willing to enclose and repair that space, largely because research shows that couples therapy and coaching is largely ineffective if those 3 things are actively ongoing. And then the last thing, this is not a good clinical fit for people who expect a high yield with very low effort. This program demands your attention, your time, your work. It requires discomfort because there is no change without discomfort, okay? If everything else sounds good, if this program is absolutely aligned with what it is that you're looking for and the expectations of you putting in your time and your energy and your attention are something that seem reasonable for 90 days, then let's get you started. Below this video is a button. Click on that to book a short call time to speak with me so that I can apply the 4 steps to your unique situation. We can break it down and go through how this applies to you and how it helps you to deeply personalize it. That way we can see if this is the right fit for you. If so, we can keep moving forward and customize a package that fit your goals and budget. How does that sound? Great. You will invest 15 to 20 minutes to see if this is the right fit for you. At worst, you walk away with clarity on what your next move should be. At best, we work together and in 90 days, you have positive energy flow with your partners and hopefully a huge smile on your face from all the amazing sex and intimacy you've been just like absorbing.